probably in the last decade. That might be a stretch, but it just makes going and being able to make, long form content on YouTube, to being like, okay, now I'm just gonna switch for vertical content, so much easier. So, keep that in mind if you guys wanna do some shopping. Okay, so when it comes to being a creator, I work in tech, but I'm not good at tech, sorry. I'm not good at PowerPoint. Okay, so when it comes to being a creator, there are a few different pillars that I think are the most important. If you are doing it, if you're in this industry, and if you're not passionate about it, chances are your audience is gonna know. People want to be a content creator, which is incredible, but I love all my creators. But if you're not passionate, it's gonna show. You also have to have ideas. If you don't have any ideas, what are you gonna make your content about? And gear, I think personally, is the least important. If anyone from B&H is here, don't listen. Gear is the least important when it comes to being a creator, and we'll get to that. And also just knowing your audience. If you're starting out and you want to be a creator, who do you want your audience to be? Or if you're already creating, who is your audience? What do they want? What is working? And go with that. So I get this question a million times, maybe not a million. I've probably gotten it a million times. How do I get into vlogging, or how do I get into creating? And kind of like going back to the pillars and that, I'm like, okay, well, are you passionate about it, or do you think this is just something that you want to do? I love traveling, and I think making travel content really shines through for people. They're like, oh, look at her, she's so happy, which most of the time I am, and I'm really tired. So like, that is my passion. I love doing that. And I'm like, what do you want to do? Is this something you want to do? Is this something you want to open yourself up to? Because once you put yourself on the internet, that's it. You're inviting literal strangers to be a part of your life, which is a blessing. And also sometimes it's, a little weird to think about, but it's all good. So don't force it. I think there was an era in 2016 to 2017 where daily vlogging was a thing. You guys remember the daily vlogging days? Just horrible times. My sister and I were like, we wake up and like, what are we gonna do today for fun? And we're like, did we just say that? Like, we called it forced fun because we're like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna go to the park? Are we gonna go to Disney? And we're like, just like things that are fun, but we're literally just doing it for content. And it kind of sucked the joy out of not only our lives, but like what we were doing. And we're like, you know what, we need to take a step back. And thankfully I'm at a place now where I'm only making vlogs when I want to, for myself. If it's something I want to share, I'm sharing it. And my audience can, I feel like, tell the difference, being like, okay, she's actually happy. She's not just doing this forced fun. And once again, it just comes back to, knowing your audience, and also gear. We'll get into that. Because I do love my gear. Speaking of, the vlogging setup. You have to be ready for YouTube long form. You have to be ready for portrait. This is the setup. No, it's not the setup. That would be terrible. I've been doing this for so long where I'm like, you know what? How do I carry the least amount of tech possible and still be okay? So I have switched to, well, I haven't switched. This came out earlier this year. This is the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. It is just a tiny, cute little compact camera. Look at that cute little windscreen. That's like my favorite part about these cameras. I still get the 4K. It has a built-in ND filter, and this camera is literally with me at all times. Except right now, it's in a different room, so I'm not lying, I promise. Are you holding it up? Yes! There it is! Shout out to the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. It's great. So anyway, you do not need some type of extravagant camera. You do not need all of this stuff. There are so many creators who have built millions and millions and millions of followers using their phone, using what they have, and I think that's great, but we'll go into that as well. With that being said, I also am the type of person who overpacks, and I think, what if? This is actually an outdated picture. Not shown here is probably another phone, a drone, a 360 camera, and then another camera. So what if I need the shot? What if I'm in a helicopter and I have to, I don't know, attach a GoPro or attach something to the outside of it? You never know. So I'm working on that. I'm all or nothing, but smaller, better, more compact is usually what I strive for. Okay, so that's the vlogging aspect of that in here. Now there's everything else. Now that I've pivoted to tech and things like that, I would say that there's less gear, but there's actually more gear. But the passion and all of that still has to be behind your content. When it comes to reviewing products, it's obviously, I don't want to say easier, but you're like, okay, I have this physical thing that I'm going to be talking about. And how do I make this physical thing relevant? How do I connect with my audience to get them to care? And also, you're going up against some of the biggest creators in the world. Like, why are you gonna watch mine over, a Marquez video, an iJustine video? So you have to think, what is this product, who's gonna care, and how do I stand out? And once again, you have the ideas and the gear. The best thing about the, filming in my studio is my gear does not move. If anybody touches it, you're getting kicked out of my house. Like, I just need to be able to push that button. But that took me 13 years to get to that. And this also comes back to, knowing your audience and being authentic. Like that poll said, 50% of millennials trust influencers when it comes to product reviews, but you have to earn that trust. Okay, gear. We love gear. This is actually an outdated picture of my studio. Since then, I've had my dark mode era, and I painted everything black. So, identity crisis. But I think when it comes to gear, this is very important. The best gear you can use is the gear you're most comfortable with, what you're the most knowledgeable about, and what you have access to. And I think it's hard because as someone who reviews the latest and greatest, I'm not telling you this is what you need, I'm just telling you this is what's out there. I recently went to Hawaii where I was reviewing an Insta360 camera, that it was a new dive case. And I was like, I've used this camera so many times, I'm good, I don't need to practice. And at the same time, I was also doing my first scuba class, which I've never done before. So I go on the boat and I'm like, great, let's do this, get in the water. I go to hit the button and it's not recording. I'm like, okay, so now I'm just underwater. I don't really know how to scuba. I can't use my camera, and the whole video is about this. So I did not do my research. I was not comfortable with the new update, and I basically missed all of that, on camera. So, be familiar, be knowledgeable, do your research. You don't need the latest and greatest. There's so many great things out there, and like I said before, millions and millions of people watch people who create on their phone, and that is honestly, that's the way to go. And I know we have a good chat coming up with Ethan. We'll be talking more about some iPhone stuff. So, okay, this is probably 1/4 of the gear in my studio. I know I just said you don't need gear, but I might be a gearhead. I've been shooting on Sony for the past 6 or 7 years, and it took me 13 years to get to this place where I walk into my studio, turn on the lights, turn on the camera, and we're good. Everything is set, everything is great. But before this, during the pandemic, I had one tiny room, which was also my guest bedroom, where I had a Murphy bed that would come down, and I have to move my desk. And on the same desk, it was my streaming setup, which, if you guys know anything about streaming or PC gaming, it takes up so much space. So when I was gonna shoot a YouTube video, I had to take everything down, move everything, and set up every single time for a video. That made me not want to work, really, because that was too much work. But now, thankfully, I'm at a spot where everything is set, for the most part, and we can just shoot, right? That's it. We just turn on the camera, and oh, I didn't hit the next slide. This makes sense now. Anyway, yeah. So we're good to go. That's it. You got your gear, you got your product, you just shoot, right? No, you do not. A lot of the times when it comes to product reviews, I will shoot a specific unboxing before, and then I'm like, okay, well now I need to, why am I so bad at PowerPoint? Anyway, product review, so I will shoot an unboxing and then I have to use the product because I'm not just gonna open it and be like, hey guys, look at this is great, this. No, they will see right through you and you need to know about the product. So there's so much that goes into it, and it's just so much more. You need to write a script, you need to do, plan out your A-roll, plan out your B-roll, you need to actually use the product, make sure it works. The amount of times I've gotten a product from a company and I've used it and I'm like, this sucks. I'm not gonna I don't tell them that. Well, sometimes I do actually. I'm like, I can't talk about this. I can't tell my audience that this is great. Like, this is horrible. And if you're not using it, you're not researching it, you're not gonna know. So, you have your script, you have all of that, you have your talking points. And I feel like shot lists are your friend. I usually am like, oh, I can remember to get that shot, and then it just never happens. Also, charge your gear before you go, if you're gonna film. The amount of times I've gone to film and my lavalier is dead, and I'm like, now I have to wait an hour, I quit. I'm getting a new job. And some tips I feel like too that I've learned along the way is kind of, especially nowadays when you're making content for different platforms, is to film kind of multiple endings or different takes. You know, I'm so used to saying, oh, you know, make sure you like, subscribe, check the link in the description. But it's like, okay, no, now we have stories, now we have TikTok, we have all of this. So kind of just shooting those variations have kind of saved me a ton of time. Also, don't forget to get the thumbnail. So many times I forget and I'm scrolling through video footage of me being like, does she ever stand still where I can just take a screen grab? Like, why are you moving so much? What are you doing? Also, you can never, ever, ever have enough B-roll. That is, if you learn anything, you can never have enough B-roll, ever. So okay, we filmed, we're good, we get in bed, we take our makeup off, we put our jammies on, and that's usually when I realize I forgot to do something. And that's usually me. All right, so we filmed, we've got everything done, we're good. Post-production, my least favorite part. Don't like post-production. Usually after I film, I will check the footage immediately. I filmed a video actually a couple weeks ago before I was about to travel, and 45 minutes, A-roll knocked it out. I was like, you know what, I just have a feeling that's not good. I put that SD card in my computer, and all of my audio, my mic was rubbing on my shirt. And I was like, do I know any post-production audio wizards, or like, am I kind of screwed here? I was screwed, so I filmed the whole thing again. But if I wouldn't have checked, I would have literally left to travel across the country and been like, oops, my bad, you guys don't have a video because I messed up. Always create a new library. I edit in Final Cut, and for a while there, I just used to throw everything in one library until that got corrupt. And I lost like 7 brand videos. That one hurt. I still think about that daily. Also organize, back up your files. I had a laptop stolen one time, and I also had another time where my laptop, I don't know what happened. It just like short-circuited and I lost everything. And not only did I lose, you know, brand content, I lost my personal things. So if I can teach you anything, it's to please back up your content. Also turn on Find My, because I could have found my Mac when it got stolen. But yeah, an organization. You know, there's times now where I go back and I'm like, oh, this is relevant again? Like, I should go back and find old content and repurpose it. You know, you're able to, you know, use that content for so many different platforms. So if you're able to find it, if you're organized and structured, it makes it so much easier. Okay, post-production. Well, also, I guess, kind of pre-production. There are so many tools, and I am definitely really sometimes bad at my job when it comes to using tools. But the best tool I use, I think, is the iPhone Notes app. Like, okay, who uses the Notes app? Yes, isn't it incredible? It's so great. I literally plan scripts. You can do shared notes. There's literally so many things you can do. I will type out my whole script, and you can add those bullet points, which make it so easy to, you know, especially when you're shooting, I'm like, okay, got that shot, got that shot. If I'm gonna be shooting with someone, I will send them a shared note so that we're on the same page. It's the best app. Like I said, I also use Final Cut. I started in iMovie in 2010, maybe 2009. And I actually just saw a picture that popped up on my Facebook. It said 10 years ago, and it was a picture of me and my sister Justine, and she was teaching me how to use Final Cut, which I wish I could have put in this presentation because it was an interesting picture. But so I guess I've been editing Final Cut for 10 years, but there's so many other things. You know, there's Adobe, there's DaVinci, there's so many things, but I don't have time to learn that, and I don't want to. If anything, I want to hire an editor, so if there's any editors here, help me, please. Obviously, Photoshop, I edit a lot of thumbnails for, you know, or just pictures in general. Lightroom, Frame.io. Do we have any Frame.io fans? Okay. Frame.io is incredible. So I use this for, you know, I was talking about updating or keeping your storage and files, you know, secure. When I do use an editor or someone, I do about 90% of everything myself still, which people are like, why? Like, I don't know, I like being in control. So 90% of stuff I do myself, but there are times I outsource. So it will upload a library with all my footage to Frame.io. The editor can just take it, download it. But the best part is when they're done, they can upload it, and I can just easily watch the video and say at 2:39, I'm like, oh, I didn't like that. Can you like add B-roll here? Or at 5:27, you can just add notes as the video is playing. So that's like one of the best things for feedback. It's also really great when I send all the content to brands. So when I'm sending a branded video to them, I will use Frame.io. Same thing, they don't have to send me back like an annoying email that says like 5:24, 6:15, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just in the video, and it makes it so easy to be able to tell what needs changed. Okay, one more question. Who uses PostLab? Really? Is that only one hand? Okay, then maybe some of you will be interested in this. So PostLab is an incredible collaborative editing program. So like I said, sometimes they use an editor. All of my files will be uploaded to Frame.io, which they can download, and anybody who has the source video files can then work on a project. So say you start a project in PostLab and you're editing in Final Cut. If my editor starts that and say they do, a quick edit, they can save the PostLab. I can then take that video file and open that library on my Final Cut and continue to edit. It is just it's so seamless, it's so good for collaboration, and it makes things just so much easier since I still love being involved. So PostLab, I'm pretty sure it works with other, not sure if it's just Final Cut. That I don't know, but I think it is. It is just Final Cut?
Premiere as well.
What's that?
It works on Adobe Premiere as well.
Adobe, yeah, give it up to Adobe. We love Adobe. I just don't want to learn. So yeah, it's great. If you're looking for that collaborative thing, I highly recommend using that. Okay, tips and tricks. Ooh. If you guys have any, I'm still trying to get to 1 million. Okay, there's things like vidIQ, TubeBuddy. There's so many resources that you can use to help, with analytics and things like that. I don't use these only because after a while, I don't want to admit this, but sometimes I just stop caring. This is what you get what you get. But there's so many things and there's so many resources where it'll actually tell you okay, this thumbnail might perform better than this thumbnail, or this is what's trending for the week. So why don't you make, content about this? I recently was at an event in Utah, which is where Maria and I were sucking down the oxygen, and there was a class with the YouTube creator liaison, Renee Ritchie, and he was giving some super insightful things when it comes to YouTube, and he said that subscribers don't matter. Now, if you would have said that 8 years ago, people would be like, okay, yeah, they do. But it turns out subscribers don't actually matter. So when you're making content and you're saying, oh, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, those are actually things that do not matter when it comes to being favored in the algorithm. What matters is watch time, retention time, and keeping people on your channel. So I've kind of had to adjust the way I do things because I'm so used to being oh, make sure you guys subscribe, let me know in the comments. We don't do that anymore, apparently. And once you kind of start to exit your way from the video, your audience, if they can tell, they'll just click away. So you need to be able to keep them engaged, and you want them to watch something else. So if I made a camera video, hey guys, I just talked about the new, A7C Mark II. If you're interested, I also talked about this new lens. So doing that so that you're keeping people on your channel, watching your content, is gonna be the most rewarding. Also, thumbnails, title, very important. There's been a lot of people who maybe their video didn't perform as well. Maybe this is videos you posted 5 years ago and they've changed their thumbnail and title and it has taken off. So that doesn't hurt your channel. You can literally change it as many times as possible if you feel like it. That's a big task. Also, I need someone who makes thumbnails. So if anybody, this is great, I'm just gonna go around and try to hire people. Any thumbnail makers in the audience, let me know. But yeah, you can change your thumbnail as many times as possible and you never know if that's gonna make a difference. Okay, also, I know, we still have some things. Video can fix almost anything. That's why we have the B-roll. So many times brands are oh, we love how you were sitting there and you said this, but can you just go back and say this? I'm well, let me just look the exact same and put my body in the exact same spot. I can't really do that. So if you have, B-roll, you can just throw some VO over it and fix it. Also, most people watch their phone or content on silent, especially for short form content. So if you're able to do closed captions, that also helps for retention so that people are actually paying attention and not just gonna swipe you away. And when I'm not using that cool little rotating collar thing, I will just shoot wider if I'm shooting for YouTube or if I'm gonna be using it for vertical, that way we can crop in. And also, AI is your friend. I know it's a sensitive subject, but has anybody used the Photoshop beta? It is the best thing ever. So with the Photoshop beta, you're able to do the generative AI. Let's see, is this gonna play? It's gonna play. So recently I was in Utah, and I was I shot a little birthday vlog, and I thought, ooh, I don't have a thumbnail, but I had this picture of my sister and I was okay, well, how am I gonna make this a thumbnail? If I keep zooming in, it's too much. So I was Photoshop beta. So So generative AI is really cool. So I throw in this picture in the thumbnail size. I selected the left side of the screen. You can add markers if you're like, add this, remove this, but I literally just hit generate and let it do its own thing. There's different variations that you can pick from. Like right now, it's literally going to generate the rest of my arm, which is kind of crazy. Now, sometimes it'll give you a couple arms, so you have to keep trying. It's not always good, it's still beta. But this time, it gave me the rest of my arm, as we'll see here in a second. And at this point, I was able to pick which one looked the most realistic. I was able to do it again if I wanted, and I created a thumbnail from literally AI. If you want to see the whole thumbnail, you can go to youtube.com/ChineseEric and watch this vlog. Thank you. But yeah, this is incredible. This has been a great. It's also good for if you ever take a picture and there's people in it you don't want, you just select them and get them out of there. Or an X. If you're just no, I like myself in this picture. Bye. See ya. Okay. So, working with brands, my favorite. There's so many different ways you can work with brands. There's campaigns, there's collaborations, there's one-offs, there's literally, it's endless, I feel like nowadays. But the best practices that I've seen when it comes to working with brands is making yourself accessible. I swear, the smartest thing I've ever done, other than getting that rotating thing, is putting my email address in my Instagram bio or in my YouTube and just making myself accessible. I've talked to so many people who work in the industry, agencies, and they're like, yeah, we don't know how to reach them. We could do these extra steps. But if your email is right there, they're probably gonna reach out. Same with location. Don't put your home address, but a lot of people are looking for, LA or New York-based people. If they see in your bio, they're like, oh, cool, add them to the list. Also, knowing your worth. People, I get so many questions. How much should I charge? And I'm like, I can give you a range, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what do you think it's worth? What do you think you can charge? This is your brand and this is your business. Don't sell yourself short because this is a lot of work. Yes, the job is incredible and we're all very grateful. But at the end of the day, it is work and it is a job. Also, contracts. So, if I've given any advice to any creator, have a lawyer if you can. There's a lot of, I don't want to call them shady, but there's a lot of shady things that are slipped into contracts where they will literally own your content. And, I remember being young and naive. I'm like, yeah, you can have it. But I'm like, no, actually, no, I don't want you to use that until I'm 90. So reading contracts, and if there's any exclusivity, you're able to charge more because if a brand is like, nope, you can't talk about another whatever for the next 6 months, that could be revenue that you're missing out on. So they're going to have to pay for that. Slide into the DMs. We all love that, right? But seriously, I feel like if anything came out of the pandemic, it's brands kind of care less or are just whatever. So it's people are I want to work with so-and-so. I'm like, then just reach out to them. Slide into their DMs, be like, hey, I have an idea. I would love to work with you. If this isn't the right person to talk to, who can I talk to? And you never know. Maybe they say no, or maybe you get what you want and you have now formed, a new relationship. And speaking of relationships, this is, I think, the most important when it comes to working with brands. As you guys have seen here, we've got Phil Spencer, and we've had Hans Benet, we've got Neil Manowitz, and these are some of the people that over the past 13, 14 years that I've worked with and I've built relationships with. So sometimes it's not always about money, it's about literally building those relationships and just kind of going with it. This is a PowerPoint, I love it. One of the coolest things I've had the opportunity to do was have my own event with Sony, and it was called Camera Camp. And this was not a paid thing. I was not paid, no one was paid to be here. And this was an event that stemmed from literally just building a relationship with Sony over the past 6, 7, 8 years. And what happened was there were invited 80 to 90 creators. The first one we came out in Montana. And it was all about community. Like I said, no one was there for money. We were just there to build the community, to hang out, to learn, and to kind of be, with each other. And the next one actually happened in 2023 of this year. We had that little pandemic, so we didn't do anything. But this was literally an event where hundreds of people were coming out to just all hang out. And it's literally one of the most memorable things that there's no amount of money in the world that I would have traded for this experience. Well, maybe, but this was a really cool experience, and this is something that to this day, people will text me about and be like, you know what, remember that time in 2019? Like, that was still such a very special thing to me. And it's like those things and those things, like, these things are memories that I will literally cherish forever. So yes, money is cool, but sometimes say yes to the free things, put yourself out there, because you really never know what it might lead to. Which brings me to one of my most favorite things that I've been doing. Obviously, I have a huge relationship with Sony, and almost 2 years ago, they were like, hey, do you want to be the host of this new series that we're gonna do called The Lowdown on Sony Electronics? And I went, me? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I'm just some weirdo on the internet who started making videos like in my childhood bedroom. Like, what? But like these big picture opportunities, you truly never know what's gonna happen. So put yourself out there, reach out to brands, build those relationships, talk to other creators, post that video. People are like, I don't wanna post this video, I look stupid, I feel stupid. But at the end of the day, like, it truly does not matter. We all look stupid. Believe that's why I privated probably hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. But you never know. You never know what one picture, one video, one post could like potentially lead to. And honestly, I've met all of my best friends because of cameras and because of gear. So I'm forever thankful for that. And on the other side of that, we're doing a lot. We've got, we're working for Sony, we're working for ourselves, we're doing all types of things. Burnout is extremely real in this industry, and I feel like if we've learned anything from the past couple of years, I feel like I'm really grateful that people are taking mental health a lot more serious and people are talking about it. But burnout is definitely inevitable, and the best thing I could say is to know yourself and know your body and how you feel. And at the end of the day, if your audience cares about you, they're going to be there. So, yeah, that's kind of it. That will be social space. Like, why, what happened? It's hard to say. Okay, any questions?
First of all, that was great. Let me subscribe for a minute. So.
Thank you.
So my question is, how do you balance catering to your niche audience while also expanding your content? So I feel like a lot of creators nowadays are doing lifestyle when they used to do makeup or like tech or stuff like that. So how do you expand while catering to them?
And so how do I cater to my audience since I've confused them and done vlogs, lifestyle, tech? It's hard. I feel like I said, I do basically everything wrong when it comes to the algorithm. But I've been doing it for so long, I'm like, this is what I want to do. So I listened to my audience, like, we want more vlogs. And I'm like, okay, well then we're gonna vlog, but we're gonna vlog on this new camera that we're gonna just kind of sprinkle in and talk about. So trying to just kind of, give everybody what they want, but at the same time stay true to myself. Because, there's so many things I could have done, to be viral, to do this. And I'm like, I don't really want to. I just want to be me and still listen to my audience and what they want.
Hi. In your experience, when you make a video, you post it on YouTube, do you promote it on Reels, on Instagram, on YouTube Reels, or do you think it's not good for the actual video on YouTube?
So if I post on YouTube, do I promote other places? If I remember. So that goes back to kind of like being able to maximize your content. If it's something about tech, I 100% will take that video and cut it into a short form content and post. And I'm like, I have a long form video on YouTube if you want to check it out. Honestly, I don't even know if the cross promotion does much. I'll still do it, but just kind of taking that content and making it, short form and doing it that way. And I just have to hope, trust the YouTube gods that they'll push it out to the algorithm, and if not, maybe the next one.
Hi, great presentation.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering how you protect yourself with all this exposure, especially as a woman.
Oh wow, I've got so many stories. How much time do we have? So a lot of the times when I travel, especially, I won't post until I'm gone. I never share, outside pictures if I'm showing my house, or like if I'm inside my living room, the blinds are closed. Yeah, like I said, posting after I leave somewhere. I was even posting like, oh, I'm in New York and I'm gonna be here. And I'm like, oh God, what if they come to find me? It's hard, but it's part of the, putting yourself out there, just being aware of your surroundings and just doing the best you can. But definitely never post where you are, which makes it hard for live streaming if you're like, hey, look at me guys, I'm in front of the page. But yeah, just gotta be careful.
Hi, great to meet you. Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
I was wondering how long it took you to become self-sufficient as far as finances, income, and whatnot from YouTube. And is that your major source of income, or is Instagram also a player?
Yeah, so I remember doing my first brand deal while I was in college, and I think it was with Verizon. And this was huge, because like this was not a thing back in the day. And that like one brand deal, I was like, you know what? Like this is kind of cool. Like I've been getting paid to make content like 2011, 2012. So I graduated, and at this time I'm like, okay, I can make that route where I'm like, I'm get a real job or just go for it. And I went for it. I moved to LA, slept on my sister's couch for a couple months until I was like, okay, it's probably time to get some roommates and make it work. But I also did some freelancing. I was working with Microsoft and working in like the creator space on like the agency side for a little bit while doing YouTube, which is also why I was trying to emphasize how important it is to be able to find you in your emails. Because like, if we can't find you, how are we gonna work with you? I did that for a little bit, and then I don't know. I guess after that I just was full time, and I was very, very grateful. I literally make, I don't say no money, but AdSense does not do much for me. I would say probably like 85% of my revenue is from brand deals. So thanks, brands. But it took, like I said, it took 13 years of building my audience and building trust and being able to work with them. And actually, I think YouTube videos is still the main brand deals, but definitely just doing more short form like Instagram, TikTok. There are brands who are just like, yeah, we just want short form. So it just varies.
Hi, thank you so much for your speech.
Thank you.
Considering that you've been on the platform for such a long time, what are your favorite ways of building community and also building longevity with that community? Because as you said, like your vision changes, and how do you support a long-term vision while also bringing all those people that you met along the way? How do you make them resonate with you so much?
Oh, that is the hardest question I've ever been asked. It's hard. There are people who are like, I've literally watched you since I was 8 and now I'm going to college. And I'm like, oh, what? And like I said, I feel like why I love doing it is because I'm able to stay true to myself. I'm like, this is what I want to do, but like, I'm still going to ask my audience, like, what do you guys like? And they're always like, I vlog. And I'm like, oh, okay, daily vlogging, we're gonna do it again. But it's hard. Like I said, you have to adapt, and like I said, I just do not do well when it comes to adapting. So I'm like, I want to do what I want to do. But I will ask people on Instagram, like, hey, what kind of content do you guys want to see? And I will read and I'll listen and I'll look at comments and I'll see what most people are wanting, what's doing well, and I'll just try to go with that. But the best thing you can do is, diversify. And honestly, worst case scenario, if you want to start over, if I was going to give advice to anybody starting right now, create your niche audience and just go with it. Like, stick to the one thing you love, go full throttle, because trying to manage, 6 different things is kind of hard.
Hi. First off, let's go Mountaineers.
Yes.
Second of all, you mentioned your experience on the agency side of things, and I'm curious to know, aside from accessibility from the content creator side, where you think the agency can improve in terms of building the relationships and trusting creators more.
Yeah, I feel like that's hard because I have a manager and a team, which is incredible, and thank God, because I'm so bad at responding to emails. But with these relationships and like with people at Sony, I'm like, you know what, like you guys can handle the legal stuff, but like I still want to have these connections. Like I want to build this relationship, so like let me talk to them. Also, you never know sometimes what the agents are gonna say. I'm like, don't ask for that much money, or maybe you should. I don't know. But yeah, it's hard because everyone is so busy. So it's like, how do you be better with building those relationships? And like, do people only care about money? Which I'm sure when you're talking to people, you can easily tell, like, they don't really care. So I think just making yourself accessible, like, even just sometimes I'll get like tiny little care packages and like, oh, we're just like thinking about you. And I'm like, oh, God, you're thinking about me? Like, that is so cute. So I think, just doing the best you can, obviously having a sense of who's interested in building the relationship and just doing your best. And if they're not interested, then see ya. No.
Hi, you brought up making content and like finding your niche. So my question is, if you're not sure the one thing you want to make content for, let's say it's 1 or 3 things, would you put all that in one page or create separate pages for that?
That depends. Are you thinking more like YouTube, or like everything, or?
In terms of like topics, so like
Topics.
if it's one's like sports, the other one's podcasting, and then let's say food.
Yeah.
Would you put everything, just create, all that on one page, or create like separate pages?
So I feel like I was saying, how YouTube doesn't necessarily really care about subscribers anymore. It's just like, okay, like what is your content? What's going to be consistent? But also, who wants to manage three different things? Like a lot of it is trial and error. You truly have no idea. But if you can maybe find a way to tie in all of those things together and make it work, or see what's working best and be like, okay, this is working, I'm gonna go with that. I put everything on one thing and just kind of make it like, this is who I am and this is what you're gonna get. So just like letting my audience know. I feel like that's what works for me. But if you do have that specific niche content, I think that in long, at the end, then like that's gonna work best, is having that one thing. Don't confuse your audience. I've confused them so many times.
Last question here.
Did you say you make most of your income from brand management, right?
Yeah, so from brand deals, like working with brands, that's
Right.
how I make most of my
Can you
income.
give us, not to give us any details, obviously, but can you give us a rough idea about how you structure the arrangement? I mean, it's probably not a deal where you're reviewing equipment and somebody's paying you to review the equipment, and of course they're expecting a positive review. But there's some other, like, for example, when you were hosting the tech thing from Sony, that must be one of your arrangements, right?
Yeah, so like the camera camp thing I did with Sony, like that wasn't a paid thing. That was like literally just a collaboration that I was doing with them and like kind of being the face of. But the hosting on their actual YouTube channel, I mean, thankfully I have an incredible team and lawyers, and they go through and they're like, this is going to be the rate for this. But when it comes to like one-off brand deals, they'll be like, we want a YouTube video, we want a TikTok, we want an Instagram reel. My team will be like, okay, well, this is going to be the rate for that. But then also like exclusivity comes into play. If I can't talk about another brand for a year or 6 months, or they want to have, usage for a long time, like that also is going to fluctuate the rate. So it varies. There's also so many times where people are like, hey, we've got this cool thing, do you want to talk about it? And I'm like, yeah, do you need budget? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I like it, I'll talk about it for free. Don't tell the brands that. And it just depends. So it really just varies. There's no like flat rate. There's so many different variables, like exclusivity and things like that. So there's no easy copy and paste for that one.
All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you. I'll be there if you guys want to.